gentlemen, and everyone in between. It's on once again, Patron once again. Yeah, that's right. This is your resident podcast DJ, BK, helping you curate your media.
Player way.
That's right. Got a really excited audience tonight, man. How you doing there, my co-captain Nate?
That's me. I wish I had as good of an intro as you do, but I'm not that clever.
It's perfect. Speaking of intro, did you see the new promo that went out about getting another co-captains?
Yeah. Wait, with where it starts off with me laying down.
Yeah. How do you like the description of your persona on the podcast?
I think that's very fair.
I think it's very fair. And ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, if you don't already know, you can go on at Playerway Podcast, or you can go on to at Play Your Way Network on Instagram. You can look at those at that promo. It's in there. It's the promo called Get to Know the Co-Captains, and it starts off with Nate, and he's like looking cool as shit. Is like the always laid back, cool guy of the podcast. So he's like, yes, I believe that is fair. Definitely want to give it up for Nate, man. Doing chillaxing.
The player way.
Absolutely. So yeah, man. So it's actually cool, man. Unfortunately, it seems like we can't quite get it together and get all of the co-captains together. We had last week, you can kind of still hear it in my voice a little bit. I had a sinus infection. I thought it might have been the flu, but it was just like a sinus infection that turned into, it's like a viral thing that turns into bronchitis and walking pneumonia, because I tend to be that way. But there's some inclement weather that's got our co-captain corrupting the system himself, the urban cowboy, wild card, Derek. He's not here. We miss you, buddy. But we are going to make sure that we kill it in your absence. But we send you, our prayers are with you. Thoughts are with you. We'll change our Facebook profile picture in your memory, and we'll
to like the state of Texas,
exactly,
covering over the state flag of Texas. Yeah,
we are all Texans today. So. All right. So anyway, man, it's been a kind of a crazy weekend. You guys talked a lot about football last week, and I actually really appreciated that y'all talked about that, because this, with all of the bullshit that's been going on with the NFL, with people kneeling and standing up, and football almost kind of getting a little bit more of a shine from the president himself, even. It's been kind of weird. And so it was cool to hear you guys talking about all the exciting stuff, because this postseason has been really unpredictable, I'd say. What do you think?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have a year where the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to be playing in the AFC Championship. And if you would have told me that at the beginning of the year, yeah, Minnesota Vikings with Case Keenum at quarterback. I mean, me and Derek and I sang his praises last week, and God damn it, he deserves it again this week.
Jesus Christ, dude.
He
There's
pulled
a lot
off,
of guys.
Yeah. Him and Stephon Diggs. No, I mean, it was – I watched that game, and I had considered it over after the Saints had scored that last time. I think Minnesota had about 30 seconds left. I considered it over. I had a bet with one of my friends. I thought I was going to win $50. And, I mean, who would have ever thought last-second touchdown?
They hit him with the got him.
All they had to do was tackle the guy, too.
That's it.
It's unbelievable.
They thought they won, bro. Like, when you watch that clip over, I watched that clip like at least 10 times over and over again. Like, it's very obvious that they were they were done for the game. Like, they had no idea that guy was just going to break out there like that. They weren't really covering him. It was crazy. It was like, y'all know y'all can still lose this game, right?
Yeah.
It can. man, like, so
that's
man,
a testament to, certainly playing to the last second, like never giving up. That's having that attitude.
That is a lesson for every place. But going back to what I was saying, yeah, it's cool to be getting some football talk. We didn't really talk a whole lot about football this season, although we did kind of take a bit of a break in October, so that probably cut into that. However, with all of the political bullshit that's been going on, it kind of took away the luster of, in my opinion, America's greatest game.
Mm-hmm. I think so, maybe to a little bit. I what took it away more for this season for me was Aaron Rodgers getting hurt.
Yeah,
so.
that
took me out of it. But yes, I think it did. It put the NFL sort of in this, I don't know, unknown light. For the first time in ever, people cared about these players' political opinions, and
yeah.
I don't know. It's interesting. And again, Derek and I talked about it a little bit. We never watch football for the political commentary.
I appreciated that y'all said that, because it's the same thing. Like, those things you usually kind of leave for the, beast mode, Marshawn Lynch too, where it's weird to have like the dichotomy of Marshawn Lynch versus other players. Cause Marshawn Lynch very much is the dude who's like, why are we giving y'all interviews? Like, who cares what we have to say? Mm-hmm. Like, I'm just here so I don't get fined. Like, just let me play the game and let me go on about my way. Like, who cares what I have to say? You don't really care what I have to say. It's just everybody, there's all of these jobs that are dependent, like analysts and people sell newspapers and get blogs going and all these different shows and networks. It's like there's all of these corporate jobs that are built around moving chess pieces around. So in that aspect, a lot of people care about Kaepernick because it gives them something to talk about. It gives them something to do. And guys like Marshawn Lynch, they kind of put it in perspective, and they speak for the rest of us guys who we just want to get a beer, bag of chips, and watch the damn game.
Mm-hmm. And if you honestly are going to get offended by whether or not a player kneels or stands for the anthem, then fucking don't watch the game or watch everything after the national anthem. Like, don't get heated about it. Life's too short.
I agree, dude. It's so funny. Like, it makes you wonder, what did people do before Colin Kaepernick? Like, I guarantee you there were probably games where the national anthem wasn't even sung.
Mm-hmm.
And now all of a sudden, every game we got to have like a recording artist come out, sing it, security and everything, just to make sure people. It's just the weirdest thing. It's odd, but I'm really ready for this season to be over. I am excited for this Super Bowl because it's like it's almost guaranteed to be an underdog story somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. It could very well end up being Jacksonville versus Minnesota, which I'm all for. I don't care to see.
I hope so.
Yeah, I don't care. I would love for the Jags to beat the Patriots. Nothing against them, nothing against the fans, but
it's not happening. It's not happening.
Well, dude, I never thought they would beat the Steelers. I thought it was a shoo-in. I was thinking Pittsburgh Patriots for the AFC Championship. Yeah. So who knows, honestly. And Minnesota, as much as I don't want to root for them, they might as well go to the Super Bowl at this point.
Like, you know what this reminds me of? Like, the way this is all going, it reminds me of how, like, in the 90s, there used to be these movies like Angels in the Outfield or like Major League. And like what would happen is like the end of the film wouldn't, because they couldn't alter like real life and mess with the PR that is like if you use real teams, okay, in a movie, you can't like have like a Super Bowl in the movie without making up fake teams. So for example, Any Given Sunday, they used a lot of fake teams so that they could actually go to the Super Bowl and then talk about the dynamic. Whereas like Angels in the Outfield and stuff like that, they used real team logos and stuff. So they couldn't go all the way to Super Bowl. So what would happen is those movies, or even like they couldn't even go for the pennant, So what would happen is at the end of the film, it would always end up like at a division championship, and you wouldn't know if they actually won like the Super Bowl or the Grand Series or whatever, or World Series or whatever it is. So
yeah,
like I feel like they used up their like angel dust Like,
like the accomplishment was just to get to that point, not go all the way. But that story is amazing. What happens after this, not so good.
It's like because the Patriots play until the end of the game. Like how they destroyed Atlanta last season. They are a fourth quarter team. It's not going down like that. So it's like in many ways, it kind of gives merit to like basketball and baseball because they have series so that you don't get like a fluke team in the championship. Because that's what's going to happen. Like, it doesn't matter who goes up against the Patriots, in my opinion. I don't know. After how they spanked my team last year, I mean, and let's not even talk about Atlanta. I mean, Jesus Christ, man. I really thought we were going to make it, man. It's just two Georgia teams in the same week just spanked.
I saw that.
We lost in the college championship. Man, it's just, man, it's crazy. But anyway, excited about football. Who do you think, like, honestly, who do you think is going to end up being, if you had to guess?
At this point, I would say Minnesota and New England, but I was way off of my predictions last week, so I wouldn't take anything I say to heart.
You don't want to put it all online for a gentleman's bet?
I already lost $50 from the Saints game, man.
I got no money left.
Yeah,
they make you give. Well, let's move along. Speaking of Saints and sinners and all of that stuff, Rachel and I ended up moving over to film. Rachel and I actually watched Insidious: The Last Key this weekend. If you're keeping track of the numbers, which a lot of people are not, this is Insidious 4. It's the fourth installment in that series. What's crazy about this film is, like, because it's so similar to like the Conjuring series and Annabelle, you kind of forget, you kind of think sometimes that Annabelle is connected to this series, and you have to remind yourself they're different universes, like they're not the same universe because they're so similar. But if are you a fan of Insidious, like the first one when it came out?
The first two. So, I don't know why they don't set it in the same universe. They might as well, since it's the same director that created. It is. I believe the same writer as well.
Yeah.
And that writer, I think, directed this Insidious, didn't he? Like Lee Wein. Oh, never mind. I thought it was Lee Weiner.
I think did this one. Yeah, well, it's directed by Adam Robitel, produced by Jason Blum, James Wan, and Oren Peli. And James Wan, you knew this was going to be a good film. Like, they put a lot of money into this. And the reason why I want to talk about Insidious: The Last Key, I'm not talking about it because it's like a blockbuster. It was not even a movie I was checking for. I thought the graphics to promote it, the posters were terrible. Like this key monster, I thought it was the stupidest looking thing, dude. I was like, what kind of anime bullshit is this? Like a key monster.
What? Like, I haven't seen the third one. What happens in the third one? Because the second one, they get Patrick Wilson back. And
okay, so let's talk about that. Let's talk about that for a second, because that's the point of what I want to talk about in this film. Is Insidious is a cautionary tale about, we talk about DC making, having issues, and other companies trying to make, like The Mummy, making these universe films and stuff like that, and kind of not knowing where they're going. It's kind of crazy, because it used to be that a film was just made to be a film standalone, like Office Space. If they come out with an Office Space sequel, I'm going to be so upset. For making a great film and putting it all on the line and really giving it all so that you can really go to the limit and have a great film. And that's what happened with Insidious. What was really cool about Insidious is you think that there's this one monster, this one demon that we're looking for the whole, film. There's this other demon that we should have been paying attention to. That's, excuse me, that's the real big bad of the film. Which, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it, it ends up being the lady in the black wedding dress. That ends up being the real bad, but you're not paying attention to her at all through the film until the very end. They mention her from time to time, but she just shows up and basically kills the Ghostbuster at the end of the film. And so what happened there is they decided, because the film did so well, they decided Blumhouse decided that, because it's produced by Blumhouse Films, they decided to go ahead and put out a sequel. The problem is the most compelling character they killed off in the first film, the Ghostbuster. How do you bust the ghost when the bitch is dead? And it's like, what do we do now? So what they had to do is they had to start doing prequels. So Insidious: The Last Key is a prequel before the first Insidious movie, because the most important character in the film franchise is this old bitch. And the same thing with chapter 3. Chapter 3 is a prequel as well, because what else could they do? Because they were like, oh shit, the best person we have is dead. They brought her back. In fact, they brought her back as like a ghost.
In the second one, wasn't she? Yeah.
Yeah, that's why they had to kill off like more Ghostbusters so people could go to sleep. The second one to me was fucking terrible. Like, it was real obvious what was going on. They had to kill like all the motherfuckers off so that they could get to the really good actress of the whole thing. And so all of these films really surround this this character. What's her name? Let me find her name. Her name is Elise. And so to me, in my opinion, Insidious: The Last Key is actually the best one out of all of them. Which is kind of surprising. Yeah, it really is. What ends up happening in this one, I don't want to spoil it too much, but it goes back to how she got her gift and being able to see ghosts and stuff. And this one is like, of all of the Insidious films, this one's the most like The Conjuring. There's some real good moments in there where you're kind of like, okay, I'm seeing what's going on. Like, you know, like if it was not for Rachel, I would not have seen this film, but like, it was kind of cool, man. And they do a good job of like all of the characters, because people have aged. They do a good job with makeup and stuff for like the Ghostbuster guys, explaining why they're dressed like, in the first film, Insidious, people made fun of them because they were dressed like Jehovah's Witnesses. And so like they were like, why are they dressed like that? Why are they dressed like Bible sales people, you know? But like they kind of explain in this one why it is. It's because she has these old school like ideas of how that people should look, and they're really kind of grungy. And you kind of saw a little bit of that in Insidious 3. Insidious 3, I actually did not see. And what was crazy is when you watch it, you actually think it's Annabelle 2, I believe. Annabelle 2, I think, is the one. Did you ever see that one?
Mm-hmm. The prequel to Annabelle.
Yeah,
the prequel of a prequel.
Well, yeah, I know, right? Is Annabelle 2, is that the one that takes place in like the apartment building with the old black lady?
I believe that's Annabelle 1. Annabelle 2 is where they're out in that like farmhouse.
Okay, so Annabelle 1 is the one when they're okay. So Annabelle 1 is with the young girl and like in the apartment, and it's like the black lady helps exorcise the demons, right?
Yeah.
This and Insidious 3 is almost exactly the same film.
Really?
That's why I thought I saw it. Like there's this old black lady in this apartment building with this young girl helping her. It's the weirdest thing, but in this case, the black lady gets killed off. So it's weird. It's like the third one is like worth watching. If once you see this one, you'll want to go back and watch them. But they definitely, with this one, they actually did a good job of opening up the door, no pun intended, if you actually see the film, into seeing what could be as far as a universe. The key monster demon dude is essentially, they explain where the keys come from. And it's actually pretty good. It's pretty compelling as far as horror movies are concerned. It definitely Stephen King's It definitely raised the bar, and you can tell that they went to town on this one. So if you go and see this film, you're definitely doing horror movies
the player way.
It's definitely worth the watch, especially if you're a guy like me who has Movie Pass. Do you have Movie Pass yet?
No, I don't.
Yes, bro, you got to do it, man. It's so cheap, and you watch enough films to pay for it.
Yeah, I do. Part of me is, I definitely don't watch a movie at the theater a month. But it is a good deal, and I should absolutely do it. Yeah.
you actually start watching stuff more often because you're like, oh, I need to watch something for the podcast. Oh, I guess I can just go do this. It won't cost me any money. Like you don't feel like you're losing out, and it's also cool to. It feels fun to like screw a company.
Mm-hmm.
Pass even admitted that like the business model doesn't make any sense. But the whole point is he's hoping he'll get enough subscribers and enough lazy people to where people will just let it keep pulling from their account. And it's plausible because the one thing about MoviePass that a lot of people don't know about is that and this is a little bit of an exclusive.
The player way.
Exclusive.
So what's going on with MoviePass is you actually are contracted. It's not one of those things where you can sign up and then like a month later decide you don't want to do it. Like watch 10 movies in a month during the summertime where there's like a lot of stuff and then get out of it. Like it's like a 2-year contract. So like when you join in there, at least it was when I joined. So it's either a 1 year or 2 year, but I know it's like one of those things where Rachel asked me, like, could I unsubscribe? And I was like, no. I looked into it after I impulse bought it, and I was like, okay, so I'm not getting out of this. So, but it's cool. It's not a lot of money at all. It's only like $9 a month, and to save money.
It's player way.
I used to love going to the movies, you know, especially as a teenager, high school, even my early 20s. Like that was the thing to do. And I used to watch so many movies at the theater. But now it's so convenient to just wait. You know I only have to wait 2 or 3 months before it comes out and I can rent it on iTunes or rent it on Amazon. Right. It's the theater business in a whole has to be suffering somewhat, you know.
Oh, and you know that to me, and I think that's a good point. And you know what's gonna even? I think I talked about this on a previous podcast, but I've been talking about it with Rachel for sure on this episode. But basically, what's going on with that is, I believe, what's going to ultimately kill the theater industry is going to end up being studios, because I think studios are going to find a way, and I think Disney might be the one to do it. I don't know, maybe not. But there's going to be some studio that's going to figure out a way to sell instant downloads alongside
theatrical releases. Yeah. And because even it's going to be at a heightened price, say you have to pay $30 to rent it for 12 hours.
Yep.
Just
that's what it's
and if it was, you know, something like, even if it was, I don't know, Ant-Man 3, I would do it.
Yep. What it's going to end up being, it's going to end up being, and this is my prediction, this is my conspiracy.
Conspiracy. But what if? But what if it's a conspiracy?
My conspiracy theory for this episode. I think what's going to end up happening is they're going to find a way to take that, and it's probably going, I think Amazon might start it. iTunes might do it too, but I see more so with Amazon Prime. They'll probably start it off with like some of their films, their exclusive films. And then what they'll do is they'll make it to where you rent the film and you literally have the running time to watch it plus maybe 30 minutes for pausing and stuff. So it'll prevent people from being able to like rent it and then like invite a shit ton of people over. And I think they're going to probably do it. Oh, and they're going to do it like this. This is what they're going to do. They're going to do it similar to, I got a really good idea that's going to kill it. There's this thing on Crunchyroll called simulcasts. And what they do is, like, if you're really like hyper into anime, you can watch, kind of like watching like a TV show. They'll tell you what time it's coming on, like pay-per-view, even like UFC. It's going to end up being something like that, like on demand. And you can watch it, but it's only on for the period of time that it's on.
Yeah.
So like you either are all like showtimes at a movie. You're going to have to sit in your lobby, be in there. You'll have to type in like something on your cell phone when it gets to start, and then it'll go. And it'll be an exorbitant price. And it's going to start off with some really huge film.
Yeah.
But what theaters are going to have to do is they're going to have to figure out a way. They're going to figure out a way to, they're doing a good job, in my opinion. I mean, they just got to continue to give an experience that is just superior to being at home.
But even then, I think it would only I mean, summertime would be, your summer blockbusters would be the only real reason to have some sort of theatrical experience, or Christmas time if Star Wars is coming.
Yeah, in Christmas. Yeah.
I don't need to go watch something like The Founder at the theater, nor would I probably ever. What I think Korea has these things. They're called, you know how they have karaoke rooms?
Yep.
So they have rooms where you can watch DVDs. Now, they were called DVD bongs, and they were also used to perform, you're in high school, you take a girl out to a date. It was the Netflix and chill of how I grew up. But I always thought that would be a good idea, some to implement here, like smaller theatrical rooms that you can rent out for a party of your own. Because there are a lot of times I go to theater, there's people chatting. You're just, oh gosh, like, this is why I don't come to theater. But if I could rent a room out, have seven of my friends come with me and watch the next Avengers, I would pay, a pretty high price for something like that. It'd be like getting a table at a club,
Bro, I think y'all, ladies and gentlemen, you got another exclusive on this episode.
The Player Way.
Exclusive.
I think Co-Captain Nate just came up with a better theory than I had. I went up to like the year 2030. I think he has come up to what's going to happen in the year 2020. So what's going to happen? I think you're right. I think what's going to happen is you're going to have a theater open up, and they're going to only have like one VIP room, and it's going to be real small. You could even take the projector room, if you took the projector room and like cleaned it up, because a lot of these projector rooms look like shit. But if you took those, and you had this exclusive where you could sit near the projector and have this VIP experience with just your friends, and you could talk, you'd pay probably an extra $10 per ticket.
Yeah. Even if it's just a 2-seater room, you have, 55-inch TVs are not uncommon at all these days. So you could easily have something like that, and, big enough for 2 to 4 people. I don't know. Yeah. It's something like, I don't know why people don't do that here in this country, because that's something I grew up with, but I'm sure there's a lot of legal minutia as to why you can't.
Oh yeah, I'm sure for sure. It's got to do with the companies that it's going to take some smaller company that has a shit ton of money behind it, that's not afraid to take risks, and it's gonna go that direction. I think you're right, dude. I think that's
what Netflix should do. Hey, Netflix is opening up this physical public space. There's 100 rooms in there. You could rent a room, choose something to watch from Netflix's library. Dude, the only problem is a lot of people are going to use it for sex. That's
hey, dude, that's how you do it, man. Yeah. But what's going to happen is, I think you're right. They just need to make a deal with like Universal Studios, dude. And Universal Studios needs help right now, because that whole thing with the Mummy, I mean, that just didn't take off. You know what I'm saying?
Universal still got their Fast and the Furious.
Yeah, it's true, but
so
hey,
they'll keep turning those out.
They'll try. That Vin Diesel bubble does burst every week.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's more like the Rock's bubble, I think, at this point. I mean,
Rock is gonna. I think the Rock is. I mean, he's gonna. I don't think his bubble's gonna burst at all. I think he's gonna.
Well, I think he's what caused the franchise to reach that new height that it is today. I think
exactly. But
ever since Fast 5,
you're saying the Rock. Okay, so you're saying the Rock is gonna bust that bubble by leaving the mainstay.
Well, they've already delayed the next Fast and the Furious in favor of the Rock and Jason Statham spinoff. So obviously,
so you're not saying the Rock's bubble is bursting. You're saying Vin Diesel is going to burst that bubble, and he already has. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, I don't think Vin Diesel's the reason anybody, not the main reason people go watch Fast and the Furious.
Yeah. I'll give you that for sure, because I mean, that Will Smith spot is definitely been taken up by Dwayne Johnson. Like, seriously, like. His first name is D. He's got penis for the first and last name. My wife is looking at the D every time he comes on, dude.
I know.
Have you seen Jumanji, dude?
No, not yet, but I do want to.
Bro,
again, like
good.
I don't know if I need to see it in theaters, you know. But I understand it to be very good, and it's making quite a bit of money. So
I would say it's worth seeing in theaters because it's a great movie going experience. It's a fun. This is why going to movies is like an outing. It's worth seeing. It's one of those things where you can watch it at home later, but it won't be like watching it with a crowd is really fun. Hearing people's reactions to it and the jokes. There's something about watching a comedic film. I always go back to Team America. Like watching that film, I don't really have a reason to go back and watch Team America.
Yeah.
But seeing it in the theater is what made that film for me, because hearing everybody reacting
it's
to
infectious,
like
the laughter and all that. Yeah.
It is. So I would encourage you for sure before it gets out of theaters, definitely go out and see that, bro. It's a surprisingly entertaining. I was really impressed by it. And definitely, like, the one person I didn't expect to enjoy was Jack Black. Definitely, he brought something special to that film.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he's playing a girl in that, yeah. And he goes all the way with it, dude. Like he there's never a time. You know how they have like some films where a person's supposed to be a certain way, and like for the first like third of the film they do it, and then they come up with some sort of plot device so that person doesn't have to act that way anymore. Mm-hmm. I expected that to happen with Jack Black, to where like the girl learns how to be a guy and she just acts like a guy for the rest of the film and toughens up. But no, like he's hardcore. Like there's like even some moments where her character has kind of like a love interest, and there's these moments like, are they gonna have Jack Black kiss a dude? Like one of the Jonas Brothers? Are they about to do this? So it's like, it's kind of interesting. It's an interesting film. He's one of those guys where you're like wondering why he was so popular and why he every now and again has a hit, but he does a really good job in this, man. And he was the X factor in making the film the next level.
I've always enjoyed Jack Black and his movies.
Yeah,
he doesn't make them as often as he used to, but
no, but he's gotten into doing a lot of Netflix
like
specials.
Early 2000 was
after he came out with Orange County and stuff, and when
Shallow House, School of Rock, yeah,
exactly. When he could actually play like more stand up, like straight guy, like he didn't have to always be like the comedic person. Like he didn't have to be this, hey, I'm a fat guy. Like he actually played some characters where he played more of like an asshole type of character in a couple of cases, and actually played like good guys in some cases. Oh, for example, like you just mentioned, he's actually been doing some really good. This one movie a while back about this guy who works like at a funeral home or some shit like that, and then he Bernie? Bernie, that was a really good one. And then he came out with another one. Netflix gave him another one it's a film called The Polka King. And it's a true story about this guy who came over. He was an immigrant and made a career off of like singing polka with like old people, and then making like this side business where they liked him so much because he was always at these festivals singing. And he opened up like this polka store that nobody shopped at. But because it was like a brick and mortar store, it was evidence that he was a businessman. Like, and they do a good job of showing how like the man never made any money out of this store with all these trinkets. It was like this gift shop that like somebody's wife would open up just so she had something to do. And her husband just pumped money into it, but like nobody ever shopped there. Except that's what he did. And then what he did is people met there and they were like, he would make these like ideas like, hey, I'm gonna go see the Pope. And he was completely lying, saying, hey, let's get a bunch of old people to invest in this company. And if they invest a certain amount of money, the VIPs will get to see the Pope. And then he takes them over there to Vatican City. And then he's like with his guys, hey, I don't know the Pope. And I don't know how we're going to make this happen, but we are going to meet the Pope. And like, they're like, what the fuck do you mean you don't know the Pope? You just sold like these trips to come over here and until we meet the Vatican City. How are we gonna even get in the city? And like him just like showing how in real life, this man met the Pope, got the Pope to have an audience with him, like cheated people out of millions of dollars, got his wife to become Miss Pennsylvania. I mean, it is crazy, dude. It is a crazy film. And I just love films like that. I know that's one of your things too. You love to watch films that are like about things that actually happening and seeing how this on the other side of it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna have to check it out. I've never heard about it until now. So
yeah, it just came out. It just came out, I think, Saturday or Sunday on Netflix. It should be on your front page when you go there. Speaking of on the front page, going down the Netflix trend as well. David Letterman is back. I don't know if you know about that, but he's got this show. It's his new show is called "And My Next Guest Needs No Introduction," and his first guest is Barack Obama. So that was kind of cool to watch. It gets kind of boring because it's like two old guys talking, but he's gonna have Jay-Z and some other like big name artists on there this season. So if you are looking for something to binge watch, you are definitely doing it.
He looks weird with a beard.
He looks like Santa Claus, dude. Really could play a Santa Claus type character.
And I was never a big I never watched Letterman too much. I was more of a Jay Leno.
Well, and let's be honest, everybody, that's the truth for everybody. Whoever's on CBS is always going to get the better ratings because that CBS has always been the old person's channel. I don't know how they do it, but they do it. Like even right now, supposedly, I heard this the other day. Supposedly, the Late Show with Stephen Colbert is the #1 night show, and I'm like, how? His show is boring compared to Kimmel. Kimmel, I feel like, is like the best show right now because he's into the political. He's got speakers on the Pulse on that. He's doing some stuff. I see Jimmy Kimmel like ended up being like running for a public office, to be honest with you.
I could see it if they go by sort of views, because I gotta imagine, especially in this day and age, nobody really watches a talk show on TV. We all watch the clips on YouTube.
That's exactly what I was getting at.
Carpool karaoke is very popular.
Yes.
Which even spinned off to its own series on Apple, of all places.
Well, that's what's weird. That's actually weird too, how like a segment, I feel like that's what happens these days, is like these little segments that happen on like Ellen and on Jimmy Kimmel.
Like, go ahead. Fallon had the lip sync battle.
Yep, and then it became like its own show, which I feel like there's a certain audience of that I'm not a part of. You'll never hear us recommend one of those types of shows on our
The Player
Way.
It's
not the player way to watch. It's like there's a certain yuppie audience that's old that they want to be like current. It's the same audience that keeps SNL alive. Like, you know, it's like, I don't know, like Jimmy Kimmel is the voice of our generation. Jimmy Fallon, I feel, is like trendy. And he's like, and hey, I got black guys in my band. You know, like he's riding the coattails off of like Jimmy Fallon's really good at finding things that are cool and getting onto them before they extinguish being trending on Twitter.
I guess so. I don't have an opinion on Fallon too much, to be honest.
You get my point. Whereas with Kimmel, like I feel like with his son, like not that he's using his son and his like health issues to his advantage, but like people like to hear that, you know, when he gets emotional about what the Trump White House is doing with healthcare and the implications of it, and the fact that this past week, our president, Donald Trump, got his first checkup, and Kimmel made a point to say he got to do something that, you know, hundreds of thousands of kids won't be able to do this year.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, damn, dude, you know, and he does things like he'll go off for a week to go lobby like something that's to the advantage of children's health care and things like that. And they'll have like Jennifer Lawrence come on and host the show instead.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You know, like that's a movement. I feel like, I really feel like Kimmel, I feel like that's what's going to make him kind of stand out. And he's doing it from ABC, which is a station that classically just didn't have that kind of pedigree. So it's really interesting. And then, of course, you got James Corden, too, who's doing his thing. I think James Corden, to me, out of the four of them, is the funniest.
The four being Kimmel, Corden. Well, I think you got to put Conan in that. I honestly think Conan's the funniest. I think he's the wittiest. Because I watch his clips on YouTube. I subscribe to his channel. I don't watch his interviews, but I watch his sort of segments, and he's hilarious.
Seen his Conan plays video games.
Clueless Gamer. Love every single.
Dude. I think that's the funniest thing ever. You could have a whole show with Clueless Gamer, dude. Like, that's a podcast waiting to happen, dude. Like, I think that
he's hilarious, man. He's very witty, and I really appreciate that. But I also do enjoy Kimmel.
So let's talk about five. So what we're saying is we're saying top five, which is interesting because James Corden really isn't one of the top four. James Corden is part of the Late Show.
Yeah, like the Late
crew. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The Late Show, which moment of silence for what's his face? He used to be on CBS. I'm doing a moment of silence for him.
Carson Daly.
No, not Carson Daly. He used to be on CBS. The Irish British guy.
Oh, Craig Ferguson.
Craig fucking Ferguson, dude. Craig Ferguson, dude. I'm telling you, like that. Craig Ferguson is. If you ever watch his clips, dude, he's incredibly like. Well, I'm gonna say this: Craig Ferguson is in today's climate when it comes to flirting with women. He would get his ass.
Oh yeah, he would get #me too.
He would be off immediately. Because, I mean, that's basically women come on his show and flirt with him, and he flirts back, and it's fun to go and watch those old clips. But shout out to him, dude. That dude was definitely doing late night the player way, man.
The player way.
And what else you been up to this week, man? We kind of blazed through. Without Derek here, we're kind of moving quick. Y'all did the same thing on y'all's podcast too, though. Well, no, y'all went like a full hour.
Yeah. I don't know if this really has anything to do with anybody else, but I took my first trip of 2018. Every year I like to do a winter vacation because it's cheap.
Holy shit!
You fly to somewhere cold. It's
dude.
Shit.
Hey, let's talk about it. Rachel and I did the same thing last week.
I flew to Boston. Go Sox.
Let me talk about. Hey, are you a townie? You a Southie? You a Southie?
Yeah.
What that was like.
It was cool. I've been there once when I was in middle school, so this is honestly sort of like my first time. Again, it's like we've tried to fly. So I went with my girlfriend. We tried to fly somewhere cold. It's cheap. It was either Vancouver or Boston, and we settled on Boston because we figured it'd be sort of easier to get around. If you're in Vancouver, we're not on cell network and stuff. And we took Uber a lot, so it's like it worked out. And I really enjoy historical things. So it was cool to walk around in the historical North End. Went to stuff like Paul Revere's house, which I kept thinking, like, everybody knows the Midnight Ride of Paul Revere. And I just imagine like this guy shuffling around on his horse at night. Someone is out there when he's like yelling, the British are calling. Oh, go fuck yourself, Paul.
Yes. Those are the parts of the story that get left out.
Yeah.
Like
this guy's always fucking yelling.
Bro, okay, all right, check this out. All right, I love that. I love that point. Let's go with that. It's like some guy, smoke alarm goes off, like some asshole who ignores all of the active shooter shit, and he's just doing his thing, still working and not paying attention. And you go by their cubicle and you're like, hey, Paul, I think we got to get going. I think the British might be coming. Real dude, they do this shit all the time. That guy's always like going up and down here. He's a stickler when it comes to fucking safety. Fuck him. I got to get these TPS reports done. It's like, there was like a bunch of people like Chris Tucker did in Rush Hour, where he's like, everybody stay calm, there's a bomb. Don't panic, but we do need you to get out of the building. And like everybody just kind of stands there and like, what is he talking
Looks
about?
at him.
It's like, bitch, did you fucking hear me? It's a goddamn bomb. Everybody panic, run. You know, it's like Paul Revere had to fucking grab like pots and pans and say, y'all, you know, there had to be like a warning that came early. That was like quiet, and it was like, hey guys, so I was over at my house and I saw like I was looking over in the horizon, and I think I saw like the British ships and stuff, and people like, oh no, that couldn't be. It would take decades, and they're not really target. Bitch, the British is coming, goddamn! Don't you understand? This is not a drill. Hurry up! You know, it's like, yeah. So you know, I love that you zeroed in on that because you know it had to be some shit like that.
He had to piss off some people, you know. It's loud. People are trying to sleep.
Oh, it's just like the same thing like in Philly. It's like the same thing in Philly. Like when you go to Philly, there's a certain part of Philadelphia that is like still somewhat historical to where Ben Franklin like lived and where his barn was. And you know, like that part of the town, the reason why it's separated even to this day is because a lot of motherfuckers were like, fuck him.
Yeah.
You know, he thinks he's the bee's knees. Like nobody's gonna be talking about this guy in 100 years. Fuck him. Yeah. I'm gonna use this candle wax up, fuck a light bulb. You know, it's like,
so he's out there with his fucking kite. You know what? Fuck him and his bifocals.
Exactly, like you know, like somebody was using like an old soothsayer like cure for something that he was like, fuck him and his goddamn electricity. Only 2 houses have it. I'm gonna stick here with this Pony Express over here. We'll be just fine. We'll get everything done by nighttime. Who needs lights after dark?
Yeah.
Who's working in the middle of the fucking night? You should be goddamn sleep. You know, like that's where it went. That's where it went, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
kids these days have it too easy. They got fucking electricity.
Who needs fucking lights? And then like the kids are like, can we have like kids are like electricity's like the internet, like Facebook now. Dad, can we have electricity? Who wants fucking electricity?
Yeah,
we're moving
turn
out.
On the light for an hour after you finish your homework.
Exactly. Look, who needs a switch? Blow it out. It's gone. Lights is off. You know, it's like gas works just fine. And then you know, like the gas salesman was like forever like speaking against electricity. Gaslight will always be it, guys. This is a good investment. I promise. Gas lamps are going nowhere. Yeah. I think you should put all of your investment, your retirement money into this. This is the future. And you know, there had to be like some company that was like competing against electricity with like gas lights and pipes and shit like that.
I want to say there's some movie coming out about like Thomas Edison and some other guy, like a race to mass produce electricity almost.
Well, is it about Tesla? Him and Tesla? Because I know that's a really, dude. Tesla versus Edison. You know, it's funny when we were kids. We were part of that generation where like Alexander Graham Bell and Thomas Edison and all those motherfuckers were like George Washington Carver. They were like the best thing since sliced bread, literally. And Ben Franklin. But what's crazy is how like when you watch like The Men Who Made America. Have you ever seen that series? Never seen The Men Who Made America?
No.
Oh, dude. Oh, shit. Nate, that is your dude. This week, History Channel came out with this series called The Men Who Built America. And it's about like the Rockefellers, like all of those motherfuckers, JP, whatever his name, JP Morgan, like all of the people who built America and the shady shit they did to like get on top. It's like they were gangsters, dude. And there's like a whole episode dedicated to Tesla versus Alexander Graham Bell and how Tesla's form of electricity was actually more efficient and safer for people to use. But they intentionally Edison intentionally, the Edison company physically sabotaged like their experiments to prove that it was bad to use and like not as humane to use. But in actuality, they knew it was a lie and put all of this money to like destroying Tesla. That's the reason why Tesla's name to this day is worth so much, because we would probably be in the fucking future if not for goddamn Thomas Edison and his greedy like hands, dude. It's crazy. The Men Who Built America and watch that series.
Yeah, I'll try to find it. The movie I was talking about is called The Current War. It came out actually last year. It's the dramatic story of a cutthroat race between electricity titans Thomas Edison and George Westinghouse to determine whose electrical
Westinghouse, yes,
would power the modern. Actually, dude, it stars Benedict Cumberbatch as Michael Shannon, Tom Holland.
Yeah, I watched The Men Who Built America first, and then watch this one.
Where did you watch that on?
Like it should be on. It should be on like Netflix or some shit. Let me look it up right now. The Men Who Built America. It is so good, dude. Yeah. Like your type, the way you think and everything. It's like the first thing that comes up in Google. Let me look at it. The Men Who Built America. It's on history.com. See, where are they watching it? Anyway, but yeah, look that up, dude. It's a really good show.
Check it out.
It's really good. It was one of the first shows that kind of had actors in it, but then also had like a documentary thing along with it. Mm-hmm. I think the gang member, the thing about the mob, making of the mob, that was made by like the same people. Yeah, it's really good, man. On history.com apparently.
Yeah, I just saw that. It wasn't on Hulu or Netflix.
It might be on Hulu. I don't know. It's hard to. I don't want to hold up the podcast.
But you mentioned you went somewhere on vacation.
Oh yeah, Rachel and I we did the same thing. Rachel's good at finding these deals, and she was like, "Hey, to go for our cabin to go fishing and stuff, like over the weekend." And like we tried to go over like the summer, but it was like really booked weekend. She was like, they got a deal going on where it's like super cheap, like this 2-bedroom, 2-bath with 4 beds in it, big ass kitchen cabin, dude. Like right off the water, go out there, catfish, bring them in, bonfire, the whole shit, dude. Like baller, and it was super cheap. So we went out there, had our like little couples weekend. And I did some video editing. We kind of were out there while we were sick, so like we kind of were able to kind of get like fresh air while we were kind of nursing ourselves back to health. But we had a lot of fun. And it's an amazing part of. In fact, I want to have a retreat with you and Derek and some of the podcast team and take us out there because like I said, for really inexpensive, you can get like 4 beds out there, mattresses and stuff like that. It would be baller, dude. But yeah, so we did a similar thing like that. It's situated on a wooden peninsula. The cottages, they offer like 55,000 acres over Lake Hartwell in every direction. It's that experience when you want to get out there in the great outdoors, So it was really cool. So that's cool. So we were on the same. We also had the same vibe of saving that money.
Well, I mean, it's. I try to do this every year because it is a pretty, you fly to somewhere cold, it's cheap.
Yep.
Yeah. And, I live in LA, so dealing with winter for only, 2-3 days, I'm fine with that. Now I left 12-degree weather to come back to, it was 77 degrees today.
I hate you.
That's the big difference.
I hate you. It's so cold out here in Atlanta right now, dude. It's crazy.
I heard.
Dude, and like it was fun. What's cool about Atlanta is like out here in Atlanta, like when we get the first snow, everybody's excited. It's like Christmas. Oh, it's so cool. And then like the second snow that kind of gets you away from work, you're like, okay, cool. That's awesome. And then about the third or fourth threat of snow, you're like, okay, I did not move to Atlanta to be around this bullshit.
Yeah.
Stop it. Like no more snow. So like Rachel had this look on her face when I told her like, hey, it might like WSB is like ABC out here. And they sent like I have the app on my phone. Shout out to James Turner. He's the one who got me to put that on my phone. But like they do the weather updates really well. And I got like a ding today and it was like, hey, possible blizzard, wintry weather approaching parts of Georgia, weather advisory, and Rachel gave me this look like, take it back. Like as if I am the tempest and I made it up. She was like fucking pissed. She's like, no, I'm done. I'm over this.
What? Yeah, so yeah. One thing I did want to touch up on, though. All right,
go ahead. Get it.
No, just
get it. Get it, bro.
The release date changes for a few Fox movies, Fox comic related movies.
Absolutely.
Deadpool 2 was pushed up to May 18 from June 1st, which puts it the week before Solo Star Wars story comes out. Now, it was originally coming out 2 weeks after, which I thought would be a much better play, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know how well expectations are for Solo, but it will eat away from Deadpool's second week. Possibly.
Possibly. I don't know. I feel like Deadpool is pretty solid. I mean, combining. First of all, you got to give it up, dude. You got to give it up to for Fox for getting Josh Brolin. I mean, you got to give it up to him, dude. They got Josh Brolin before he appears as Thanos, so they're gonna definitely get the drippings off the penis. Like it's like they're gonna definitely get a little bit of the warm up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The before, you know, the early enjoyment, if you will, of a pleasure session. So I love that. I hope they have some sort of joke about the fact that they beat Marvel to the punch, it literally, in getting the oldest brother from the Goonies. I mean, I always like to remind people, like,
well, no,
Josh Brolin, that motherfucker, dude. It's such a great career, man.
This will come out, I think, 2 weeks after Infinity War.
Oh, is it?
Because Infinity War is going to be the first weekend of May, I think, May 4th.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
In my brain, I thought Infinity War was coming out a little bit later in the summer.
No.
But even so, they still gonna get some of the after drip.
Yeah.
All right, fuck it. They still get some of it.
There's very good chance that a lot of people won't even realize Josh Brolin is Thanos, but they will know he's Cable, you know.
No, the oldest brother from the Goonies, bro. Like, I always love to remind people of that. Like, amazing career this guy had for the most humblest of beginnings. I'd love to go back and watch The Goonies, Stand By Me, and The Outsiders. Those are 3 films where go back and watch those. If you have not seen The Outsiders, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, with all due respect, if you are listening, here's your list. You need to go and watch The Outsiders, Goonies, and Stand By Me. And watch them all the way through. Those are 3 movies notoriously that one or the other, you've watched like half of it, but never actually sat down and watched the whole film. I got this theory that no one has actually watched the Goonies. Like, everyone talks about how awesome it is. But like, there's a lot of people, dude, out here who, I used to be one of them. That's how I know, who like lie about seeing the Goonies. And then you say something like, everybody knows, hey, you guys. But like, but if you go to like a piano and like, but if you go to like a piano and like fake, like play a wrong note, and then you go, like, people won't know what you mean. It's like, okay, you've not watched the Goonies. You've not actually watched it. But like, I was watching with Rachel the other day, and I was like, that's Josh Brolin right there. That's Thanos. And she's like, oh my God, it is him. Like, it's like, you don't think about that. Like, and you think about, he was in Men in Black. He actually did a good job in that. I know it was like a random one to pull, but then he was No Country for Old Men, which
that was sort of like his shot to kind of mainstream. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Llewellyn, that's such an awesome character, dude. And to meet the end that he met, it was like, this motherfucker, he knew he was going out, but he fucking gave him a fucking hell of a time doing it, man. Even his wife.
As good as that movie was, I've never felt the need to watch it the second time. It's sort of like The Revenant. Like, I watched it once. I don't need to see. I've tried to watch both again. Like, I saw No Country on Old Men on Netflix, and I tried watching it again, and nothing against it. I was just like, man, I really don't. I'm not in the mood right now. You know,
it's kind of depressing. I will give you that. I'll make a to confess something. Seen The Revenant. I've never actually saw The Revenant, so I need to see it. But
I mean, it's nothing you need to rush out and watch right now. It's another one of those heavy movies. Cinematically, it looks fantastic. Like the director, what he did, a lot of one-shot takes. So it's sort of cool to look at. But I mean, would this, for all the Leonardo DiCaprio movies, would this be the movie I'd give the Oscar for? Probably not.
I still
he's had so many better than
that. He didn't get anything for fucking what's the name of that damn film? The Aviator, dude. The Aviator was the one.
Yeah, that was good. Even Wolf of Wall Street. I love Wolf of Wall Street.
Wolf of Wall Street is so good too. Wolf of Wall Street changed. Like even the style of film, it changed film. And I also really a great nod to Catch Me If You Can.
Mm-hmm.
No, I love Catch Me If You Can. Derek is corrupting the system from afar. I don't know how he did it. But anyway, no, Catch Me If You Can is definitely one of the, I mean, the fact that it's like on every week on HBO, like it's always on TV somewhere on some channel. And that's something you should go back. Like that guy is like the guy who that movie is about is doing like keynote speaking on like TED Talks and shit now. It's like crazy. Like it's like you forget that this was a real thing. This really did happen. Like it's not something that would happen now. With technology and shit, it's kind of changed the magic of the world. The world's so real now.
Or they can just verify checks much faster, and we don't even use them. It's...
No, you're not, kid. You're not that guy. People just used to be dumb. like even down to the fact that like back in the day, and I know comedians have talked about this, so I'm not stealing anybody's premise. I'll give credit where credit is due. So don't get upset with me if I use the premise of a joke. But let's be real. Back in the day, like nowadays, leaving your wife is like difficult to do. Like cheating on your wife is like difficult to do now. Like you do some shit, it's like 2.5 seconds, you've been dipping your dick somewhere you shouldn't have been. Like it's so easy to find out. Finding out that you're pregnant is so quick now. Like it used to be, it took you like 6 months to find out that you were fucking pregnant by some dude. And then by the time you figured out who the guy was, because you probably had sex with 2 or 3 other guys between now and then that guy is like on the other side of the country. And back in the day, if you like grew up in like North Carolina and a guy moved out to California, he might as well have been to fucking Oz. He disappeared off the fucking face of the earth. He was just gone.
Yeah.
He was just gone. Like, like back in the day, it used to be crazy. If you wanted to like leave your wife, you just got up and said, "Hey, I'm going to go get a packet of cigarettes," and then you were just fucking gone.
I will write you 2 months later, dearest Catherine.
You were just fucking.
You have a whole nother family out there,
bro. A whole nother family, whole nother life, dude. And then like maybe in the 70s, you had one of your kids show up and realize you had another family, and then they just left you alone. There was no go on Facebook and write about your experiences, and then like a news station goes and does an expose on this dad who has 2 lives. Like nobody gave a shit. You were like, "Hey, my dad like left my mom and started another family." Like nowadays, you talk about some shit like, are you fucking kidding me? How the fuck did he do that? But like back in the day, it's like, hey, that's what motherfuckers do. Papa was a Rolling Stone.
Yeah.
I mean, you heard the song. Crazy, dude. I love this episode. Like we start off talking about something new, and then we go back to how things used to be back in the day. I think the name of this episode should be "Back in the Day," which was a Tuesday. And like you're like, what the fuck is that episode about? They usually talk about movies and shit. No, we're just fucking talking about how it was back in the day, dude. Used to have to ride through town and fucking yell, "Hey, the British are coming," for people to take you seriously.
Go fuck yourself, Paul.
Fuck. Tell you what I said.
God. I'm so glad I live when I live now. I can't imagine writing letters. Like, and you get them every, I don't know, 4 to 6 months. Your kid can die of consumption.
Dude, like imagine like that, how like back in like nowadays, like the reason why Watergate was such a big deal back when it was is because if in letter, it was just gone. There was no trace of it. It was as if it never fucking happened. You redacted something. You want to talk about redacting images? There was no like finding out what it used to fucking say. It was just fucking black. There used to be some shit there. There may have been something good. There may have not been something good. It was just fucking gone, dude. Like now you can go in somewhere and like lie to your teacher about like you made like you can like think about. All right, let's be real. How many times did you like fucking copy and paste some shit that you read somewhere else or you used from another term paper before Turnitin.com came out? And you just, I mean, I remember lying to a teacher when I was in high school. A fucking messy teacher, dude. And I think I might have told this story on a previous podcast, but I'm gonna go on with it. Can't do shit about me now. But I once lied to this teacher. She was really messy, and she had all of these like papers, like these term papers. This is high school. This is back when we used to write term papers. Like, so like she had all these big papers on her desk. And this is an AP English class, by the way. Okay. So I'm giving away. Some of the people who listen may know exactly what teacher I'm talking about. Shout out to you if you know around. I appreciate the A that you gave me. But anyway, what ends up happening is I didn't write the fucking paper. I just didn't do it. I didn't feel like it. Like, and when you're around a bunch of AP students, you might relate to this. Like the idea of not doing a term paper, it's like it doesn't happen. Kids didn't cheat in AP classes. They didn't try to fuck with the system in AP. Like, you're around other motherfuckers that really wanted to be fucking the president or be at NASA someday. It was crazy. Like, and when I say that, one of my friends, shout out to you, I'm not gonna mention your name on a podcast where I'm cussing, but he actually has worked. He's an aerospace engineer to this day. Okay, so this is a guy who I was in class with. So these are the people I went to classes with, and I'm up here podcasting. So it shows you where the fuck I went with my life. But anyway, what ends up happening? Exactly. No. Here's what happened. It's even better than that. Here's what happens. So she asked me one day. I don't come up with this plan in advance. I'm not that smart. I just decide I'm not turning the paper in. And I expect it's just gonna blow over because that's what the fucking happens when you're in the dumb classes. You don't turn in some shit, teacher doesn't care. They give you the fucking F and move on. No, in AP, they care because every kid makes A classes because standardized testing, every kid in these classes, they make A's and that's how we get money. So like they want to make sure I'm turning this goddamn term paper, right? So it's like and back then 20-page term paper was like a big deal, right? So I just don't do it. And I come to class every day, act like everything's good, giving the answers, making A's on spelling tests and shit. Like a couple weeks out to the end of the term, and she's like, "Hey, that paper, you never turned that paper in." Look over at her desk, and she's got all of these folders because she didn't email back then. You put it in this nice folder with brads, if you know what brads are. These little brads in there with a nice cover and everything, and then you you give it to the teacher, and she puts it on a desk until she decides to grade it. Honor system, because nobody's going to actually take a paper out, change a person's name on it, and then make it theirs. No one does that back then. No one thinks that way. It's all the honor system. So I noticed that like one day, all of the papers fell in the fucking trash can because she's just not organized. So like literally I'm looking over her shoulder and there's papers all around this bin, this recycle bin, and the recycle bin is empty. And so immediately I go, well, I put it right on, it was on top of that rip. Wait a minute, the bin is empty. And I just start crying on cue right there. And I'm like, there was no go print out a new copy because you wrote it. It was gone. It was like 20 pages written double space. Like, you're like, fuck, dude. Like, what the fuck I'm going to do? Dude, I cried. She gave me a fucking A on a 20-page term paper, dude. I did that shit, bro. I did that shit. So it's just crazy how, like, when you think back, shit like that doesn't happen now. The world is not nearly as magical anymore. No. Like, and I kind of feel it's kind of sad now.
I feel like it might be worse off for this generation of children because it's probably you turn in your homework electronically, kind of like you had to do. Well, I imagine you had to do in university classes. Like you have a time you have to send it electronically by. And that's it. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And that probably has translated into high school, I'm sure.
Oh, trust me, that's when I quit college.
Yeah.
I quit. Like literally, like when you and I remember I went back to school. I remember one day I was like, yeah, I'm going back to school. Dude. Like, oh really? I'm gonna do it online while I'm working with Trial Graphics. dude, they hit me with the 7:30 p.m. EST type shit. I was like, fuck this. I can't cheat the system. I can't work here. I can't fucking do this. And I'm paying. Hey, you pay for it. Like, fuck that. But it's kind of crazy. But about today is like when you have you ever heard about drop shipping?
About what?
Drop shipping.
Drop shipping, no.
Dude, it's kind of crazy. Like, so while you don't have the old magic of what we talked about in that aspect, you have other things like there are ways to make money, like with Bitcoin and then with drop shipping, where you can just open up like a shop online with like Shopify, and you can send stuff like from like China and mark it up. It's the craziest thing ever. And people have made millions of dollars doing this. It's crazy. You just go on YouTube, dude, and just take like 30 minutes and just type in drop shipping. and like, it's obviously not that easy, but like they make it sound like you're just printing money. It's like, what? Why isn't everybody doing this? But obviously there's a reason why to everything. But there's all kinds of stuff that happens nowadays that makes life awesome, like air conditioning. I couldn't imagine like living in a time. Like, imagine me, like back in the day, if it was fucking hot, it was just fucking hot.
Yeah.
Like, you just opened up a window and hoped some goddamn, like, wind came through your fucking house. Like, now,
I honestly wonder how places like Phoenix got colonized, how they got settled. Why did you stop right here? And what, if we were to try to venture off and kind of wonder what maybe the fifth circle of hell was like, I would imagine it be the fucking desert.
well, you know how. Well, I mean, not to cause any pain, but I'm gonna haul off and do a possible what do you call it? Technical difficulty. But fucking white dudes did that shit, dude. Here's how you colonize Nevada. Okay, here's how Las Vegas was created. You ready for this shit? All right. You go to like fucking, I don't know, let's find a place like the Chattahoochee Valley. Let's say like Atlanta, like on like Savannah. Okay. Yeah. You go to Savannah and it's awesome. Like, it's got the great weather. It's like not too down. It's not down in Florida. It's not too fucking muggy and shit. It's not too far north. There's a lot of fucking trees. It's pretty temperate around the edge. You got Tybee Island. So what you do is you go there. Oh, there's a bunch of fucking natives living there, some fucking tribal people. Let's fucking cough and whipping cough on them. And then what they do is they move over to fucking like Tennessee. And then what you do is you just keep conquering the lands that they then find to where you get to like fucking Kansas. And that's where the fucking desert starts. At the very end of the border of Kansas, it's just fucking sand from the rest of that fucking place. And so what you do is like white people are like, you know what? We're done, guys. We're done kicking your ass. We're going to reserve some land for you. We're going to put it over in El Paso. Go get that. If you want to live and be away from us, go fucking live in the desert. Then what happens is they create all the processes to make it work out there. Then you get out there and then some cowboy goes through there and he's like, wait a minute. Motherfuckers figured out how to pump water. They got water pumps out here. Hey, guys, they got wells over here. Let's fucking conquer this shit. They figured it out for us.
Hot springs.
Dude,
Hot springs.
Wait a minute. It's fucking water out here. What the fuck is this? Hey, it's a goddamn oasis out here. Fucking get the fuck out of here. You know what? Go down to Mexico. Fuck out of here, dude. That's how America. I'm telling you, this episode, dude, it's got to be like The Men Who Built America. That's like the name.
I always imagined it to be, when people really started going out west, like the guys that couldn't really make it. It's just they're going through weeks and weeks of desert, and they're like, "Fuck it, I've lost 3 kids on this trip. I'm just gonna drop. I'll set my roots down right here. I don't care." These people are talking about coast. I'm not finding the coast. Damn it,
Fuck it. Let's just fours around here. Let's build a spaghetti town.
Yeah.
Have some high noon shit. Build a clock right there. We'll have gunfights. It'll be cool.
Yeah.
People will love it. They'll make movies about it. But anyway, All right, I feel like we've exhausted like all of the funny things about history for this episode. Nate, it is amazing to have this podcast with you because I forget that like we're recording. Ladies and gentlemen, everyone in between, thank you for coming along with this. Hopefully you're having fun listening to this, and hopefully you enjoyed us killing it. And if you didn't, then so what? Because
fuck yourself.
Exactly. We enjoyed it, and hopefully we helped you curate a little bit of media and get a little humor.
The player way.
So if there's nothing else for the good of the order, I move to close it out. Derek, he's not here. Nate, what do you think?
All
right, bro.
You have my axe.
Exactly. Ladies and gentlemen, everyone in between, thank you so much. Part of why I was kind of amped and excited is I was going off of a pepper high. So after you get off the blue, let's go on to our YouTube channel /Playerway podcast. Go on over there and take a look at some of our hot, spicy pepper challenge videos. I got like 4 or 5 of them going, and I'm gonna keep them going. People seem to like them. People are starting to send me emails and text me, "Hey, if you think you're a badass, try this spice." All right, fuck it, dude. Let's do it. So it's interesting. It's like I'm at close to 35 and found out my hidden talent was eating hot shit. So I'm gonna keep doing
another
it.
Testament play to the last second, you know.
Hey, listen. If the Vikings can do it, hey, so can I, dude. I'm gonna ride this motherfucker if I can. I'm gonna keep doing it until I end up like Homer Simpson, where I'm like wandering out into the wilderness of the desert, which that's really how they ended up out there as peyote, but that's another episode. So ladies and gentlemen, everyone in between, I've been your resident podcast DJ BK, helping you curate your life and media
the player way,
along with my always cool as a cucumber co-captain Nate.
That's me. And again, I wish I had another. I need to think of like an intro and an outro.
Hey, you need to holler at Jonathan Barron. He had the same problem over there with Weekly Games Chat. He ended up with Thug Life as his, but I think you do have a bit of a tagline type of thing. So send us on home with it.
Peace out, Rabbit.
Indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you next week. And no matter what path you decide to take or actions you decide to follow, just make sure you're doing that shit
the player way.
Holla at you. That's it.
All right.
We'll wrap that up just like that.
Stop.
Play for keeps. Play for keeps. All right, Nate. It's good talking to you, brother. Always.
Yeah,
always.
man.
It's like halfway through the episode, like
it's going on a tangent.
Hold on, go ahead. Yeah, like every now and like halfway through it, we were like, okay, we're doing good, and then like we kind of forget we're recording, and then it ends up just being kind of like fun time and chilling out. So, ladies and gentlemen, everyone between, if you're watching on YouTube, thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys next week.